But it's not an inherent weapon, not an argument. Okay, what I'm referring to is the fact that anytime an anti-gunner brings up the need for more gun control, after shooting of any kind, and when a pro-gun person brings up the argument or the analogy of cars. Now, before we get into it, remember, owning a gun is a right. Not owning, but driving is a privilege. There is no right that extends to driving. You have to pass tests, etc., prove that you can handle a vehicle to a point. And I say to a point because there's a shit ton of crappy drivers on the road. Everybody knows this. But somebody keeps posting all the anti-gun stuff, and we follow each other, but I ignore most of it because I already know we're not going to come to common ground on that. But sometimes somebody on that feed posts something that's just so inherently stupid, I kind of feel the need to jump in and say, no, that's not correct. And this person decided to go with, no matter what a car has been used for. I'm not saying driving because, that's what they're meant for. But no matter how a car is misused, whether somebody gets ran over, somebody decides to run into a crowd of people, etc., misused, used for the wrong purpose, because it was not designed as a weapon, they don't give a shit about that argument. They don't argue why it's a bad argument. They just say, car is not a weapon, not designed to be a weapon. That's it. There's no other argument. Now, somebody I got into an argument, with yesterday, I think it was yesterday or this morning, I can't fucking remember. My insomnia is kind of screwing up my tracking of time. In 1 second while I find the name. Okay. This person's name is biased towards reality. Yeah, no, you're not. You're not. The reality of the situation is our vehicles are 10 times more dangerous than a firearm, but you refuse to accept that because they were not designed as weapons. Here's the thing. My gun carries so many rounds. Even if I have a spare magazine, so many rounds. If I continue to fire it, even use that spare magazine, I'm gonna run out of ammo. It's not gonna take a very long time if I fire as often as I can. Car, on the other hand, big ass gas tank. Unless you manage to find a way to disable the person or the car, they can keep their rampage up until they're out of fuel. And hell, if they want to, they could park that fucking car somewhere, turn it into a bomb. Now, I know it's a bit of a stretch, but still. Now, this person also argued that cars are more restricted than guns. Now, if reality was a thing, or common sense, that would actually be an accurate statement, because again, privilege versus right. But it's not an accurate statement. Tell me the last time you had to have a background check ran on purchasing a car. And if you're buying a car privately, you don't have to even prove that you're old enough or licensed to drive a vehicle. You don't have to prove you know what the fuck you're doing behind the wheel. All it takes is a change of hands of money and the title. And sometimes you don't even have a title. I mean, you could private sales on cars. There's no limitations. Now, let me tell you about the restrictions of how a gun is still more restricted than a car. My driver's license works in every state. I could go somewhere, rent any car as long as I can afford the rental prices of that vehicle. They don't check my driving record to see if they want me behind the wheel of their vehicle. If I can afford it and I've got a license that says, hey, he's legally allowed to drive, they will hand me that vehicle. No ifs, ands, or buts. I have a CCW. I've taken classes on what I can and cannot do. It also had a test which you had to pass 100%. Unlike a driver's license test where you can miss a few, but as long as you passed enough, you could drive. You could drive. But in order to get my CCW, I had to pass an accuracy test and know the laws revolving around a gun. An accuracy test meant I had to know how to load the gun, how to fire the gun, etc. So there are tests on both sides. But again, the car is not, being allowed to drive is not more restricted, no matter how you put it into it. And you can still do 10 times more fucking damage in a car than you can do with a gun. And this person argued about the 10,000 safety features in the car. Well, auto braking, this, that. Not all cars have that feature, and let's not forget, a self-driving Uber car, and was supposed to be the new thing, ran somebody over. The auto braking feature didn't work, or from what I read, it was disabled. That shouldn't have been an option. It fucking ran somebody over. Then they shared it. Then they said to me, now this was hours ago, I was passed out, I dare you to tell me a Chevy, well, I don't remember which Chevy it was, I'd have to look back over it, but dare you tell me a Chevy is more dangerous than an AR-15. I'm sorry, what information do you have about an AR-15 that makes you think it's more deadly than the next weapon? It's not. And in fact, the round isn't all that big, and I mean the slug, not the entire casing. In fact, see this firearm? Safety off. It's now in single action mode, which means it takes very little to pull this trigger. This way, the trigger is much lighter than the AR-15. I can fire this firearm at a much faster rate than an AR-15. It's that simple. An AR-15 is not an assault rifle. One bullet per trigger pull. And in a closed area, I'm more dangerous with this than somebody is with a fucking AR-15. AR-15, long rifle. This, not so long. I can maneuver a hell of a lot better in close set quarters than somebody can with a fucking rifle. This is why anti-gun people can't fucking stand the car analogy. Because, one, it works in the favor of pro-gun 100%. It completely destroys anti-gun arguments when it's compared. That's why they won't even go down that road. That's why the only argument this person has was that it wasn't designed as a weapon, despite how many times it's been used as a fucking weapon. Now, here's another thing that I find an issue with. That's your argument. That means that you don't care about adding more restrictions to cars when they are used improperly. It should be your opposite reaction. When an item is misused to hurt somebody, that should cause more outrage, because somebody misused it to hurt somebody. That shouldn't cause less outrage because, well, it wasn't designed for that, so who gives a flying fuck? Now, here's another thing. I can guarantee you that when you're out and about or listening to the radio and some traffic report comes on the radio, if you're listening to anything with a traffic report, and say they report 5 or 6 accidents all over your city. Now, they're only doing this to tell you to avoid these areas. Now, I guarantee you what's running through your mind is, okay, traffic accident, avoid that area. What's not going through your mind is, we need to do something about these bad drivers. How many people did they hurt? Those are not standard thoughts when it comes to car accidents, despite them happening every fucking day. I'm just annoyed that people will blow off the car analogy so fucking quickly, despite it working so fucking perfectly. They blow it off because it works. Telling me it's not designed as a weapon is not an argument. That tells me you have no argument. You have no way to dispute it. That also tells me that you're screaming for gun control not because of the lives being lost because of bad people. You're screaming for gun control because of the gun. You don't like the gun. It has nothing to do with what they're doing with the gun. Because if it had anything to do with lives being lost, you'd be losing your shit at lives being lost no matter what was being used to take them. But you are not. Just like I brought up the fact that more people have been killed by what home improvement stores sell. You know, saws, tools, sharp things, items to make explosives. But you will never have a background check at a Home Depot. Something may require your ID, and that's usually just if you use a fucking credit card. Now, I could go into all the things that people have compared to or said, I couldn't buy this because I needed ID. It's more restricted to guns. Yet that keeps getting disproved every fucking time. And again, owning a firearm is a right. As long as you're not a felon or anything on your record that says you can't own a firearm, you have the right to own a firearm. Again, comparing cars to vehicles work. If I'm behind the wheel of a vehicle, say I'm exhausted as hell. There's nothing to keep my attention, nothing to keep me awake. And I'm doing 45, 50 down the road of the freeway. I managed to pass out behind the wheel for whatever reason. I'm now a massive danger more than I was just driving. I'm now a massive danger to anything in my path. If I have a gun holstered on my hip and I fall asleep, there's no increase of danger there. Because no matter what, that gun still requires me to pull the trigger. If I pass out behind the wheel of a car, it's already in motion. And especially if my foot doesn't slide off the gas pedal, it's not slowing down. And to the idiot who kept arguing about the safety features, fuck you. That's not in every vehicle. And again, those safety features can fail. So to use it as a dependent excuse of why cars are more safe is bad. Some of my guns have safeties, which prevent me from firing them. Again, even if those safeties were enabled, I'm still not going to point my gun at a person and say, don't worry, the safety's on. Because that's still irresponsible, and I'm not going to risk the safety on that gun not working. It's very unlikely, but I'm not going to risk that. But this person justifies cars because of all the safety features in some of the newer models. No, not how it works. Again, not designed as a weapon, not an argument. And I just love the analogy because they can never combat it. Ever. Again, license works in every state. CCW only certain ones. Now I get it. Some states have different gun laws. But some states also have different laws when it comes to driving. So that excuse doesn't even work. And also, don't know what the fuck's up with YouTube. It's getting really annoying. But they don't want me having 700 or more subs. They finally dropped me back below. But they win. I give up. From this point on, I will never verbally complain about it, or even on Twitter. Fuck it. I'll just keep doing my videos until they remove my audience completely. At that point, if nobody's sub, there's no point in it. But anyways, hope this video isn't too long. It was kind of a rant because stupid people, yes, they're stupid. Anyways, you all have a great day, etc., etc.
You cannot invade the mainland United States. There would be a rifle behind every blade of grass. Isoroku Yamamoto.
Now, you've just watched another video by Running Guns News. If you liked the video, hit like. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button. If you actually enjoy my content, you can support me or my channel financially if you choose by PayPal, Patreon. BitChute now has an option to do monthly or one-time payments, which no matter what you pick, it's still taken out at the beginning of every month, just so you know. And you can catch my videos on other platforms, which will also be linked below. So until then, have a nice day.